Hey everybody, Birdie here, and I'm about to do a live transdimensional mapping session. I have my Muse 2 headband on, and I am charting my brain waves using the official Muse app so I can keep track of what's going on with my brain while I'm doing this. So let's see what happens. Hey everybody, Prue here, Birdie, whatever you want to call me. And I am about to do a transdimensional mapping session. As you see, I have really huge art paper on my desk, and I am monitoring my brain waves using Mind Monitor and my Muse 2 device, as I showed in the intro. And I'm going to keep an eye on this as I work because I recognize my brainwave patterns as I do a transdimensional mapping session or as I do a remote viewing session. Transdimensional mapping is a form of remote viewing that I developed over the past 20 years. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm using Mind Monitor and I am recording it by, as you can see, I switched down the control panel. I'm here on an iPad using iOS. However, there are instructions to do this on an Android as well, and that will be posted below this video. And I've pressed the recording button. So it is recording this screen and keeping timestamps for me so I can see what's happening. I can go back and look at the video I'm taking of this session and match timestamps. Now, if you don't have two devices, if you're only using a phone, for example, then you may want to also put on audio recording and talk as you work. It's because I'm talking, the brainwaves are going a little nuts there. They flatlined because the talking, I'm very animated and my facial muscles moved all over the place. I'm trying to keep them calm here. So you can see my brainwave patterns, which are nothing to write home about, just your typical waking mind brainwave patterns. So I'm going to put this over here and I'm going to keep an eye on it. I also have my experience that I'm going to remote view. This has been pulled from a pool, an experience pool. If you're a remote viewer using CRV, SRV, TRV, TDRV, any of the RVs out there, the more traditional methods, you might call this a target. I pulled it from a target pool of roughly 5,000 different targets that I have developed, experiences that I've developed over the past God knows how many years. I have 5 huge of those big, huge tubs that you pack things in for moving. There are filled with these. And inside each one is a photograph or a written cue. Now, each of one of these in this particular pool are 100% verifiable. This could be anything, anytime, any place, anything as long as it's verifiable. So it could be the wedding of Prince Charles and Diana, or Prince William and Diana. No, wait a minute. Whoever got married to Diana, it could Prince Charles and Diana. It could be them. It could be the Taj Mahal, could be Disneyland, could be anything. I have no idea what this is. I created these ages ago, and there's no way I could figure it out from 1 in 5,000 roughly. So it's just something somewhere, something verifiable. And what I'm going to do here is show you how I do transdimensional mapping. If you are somebody who is into CRV, SRV, TRV, TDRV, etc., you can implement mapping as part of your sessions. Absolutely. If I were you, I would do this either in place of the matrix or after the matrix. It's a nice addition to a traditional remote viewing session. However, I no longer do anything traditional and I only do transdimensional mapping. So I begin with the map, which is a large piece of paper. And then to my right on a chair next to me, because this is a small card table and I've got my brainwave device and everything going on here, is I have my selection of tools that I'm going to use here. I have rollerball pens, I have crayons, I have colored pencils, I have markers, I have all kinds of colors and textures here. Now, sometimes I use even some more interesting tools. I use oil pastels at times. I have used acrylic and oil paints with paintbrushes. I've tried like every kind of art supply you can imagine, and I enjoy all of them. But I'm just using the easy ones today. Although I have to be honest, I do pull out those oil pastels more than you would think because they look cool. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. And I begin similar to how anyone begins a remote viewing session. I start with an ideogram. An ideogram is a quick doodle that you make without thinking, and it tells you something about what's here. Now, this, I have labeled all of the experiences with a tag, a coordinate number. This is not a literal longitude and latitude coordinate. This is a random number that's been associated with what's ever in this envelope. And in TransDimensional mapping, you have the choice to start with the tag or you can start without. Now, I personally, normally in all the sessions that I do, I've been doing this for a very long time. It's coming up on 30 years. I don't even have to use the tag anymore. I just start. But I'm going to use it now because most beginning students, I think this is a good entryway into this. So I'm going to start with the tag. So here we go. And I'll start usually in the upper left-hand corner. That's kind of typical for me, but you could start in the middle. You could start in any corner. You can start anywhere on the page you like. Mapping is very free. You have to follow your intuition. I typically start on the upper left-hand side, but sometimes I feel just intuitively I need to start in the middle or in some other location, and that's fine too. So here we go. 49520 Okay. Okay. So this is a quick ideogram. I hope you can see it. I'm going to start using other tools in a minute, which will be easier to see. And this looks like a person. And this person, or it could be, when I say person, I mean any kind of sentient being. This could be a cow. This could be a spider. This could be a human being, anything like that. We know it's not an alien, an ET, or a non-human intelligence because this is a verifiable experience, verifiable target. And the line coming off of that is, for me, this indicates some kind of structure, but this structure is rounded. Now, because I've been doing this for so long, I have figured out what my ideograms mean. They're very deeply personal. And every person who does transdimensional mapping or remote viewing is going to come up with their own particular ideograms and that they'll be able to figure out. It takes a lot of practice. And I'm talking to you as I'm doing this, and I don't think that most new remote viewers, new transdimensional mappers really should be doing this kind of, exposition as you're doing a session. I can do it because I've done so many. So there's a being and there's a structure. So I'm going to start probing, and probing means you take your pen and start pressing into the line and you write down the first impressions you get. Each time you probe, you should write something down. I've already probed a few times, so I'm already loading up. So I'm getting wide, not super tall. And I'm writing down everything that I say, literally everything I think and everything I say. Now, sometimes I might write down something that's a conclusion. And if I do, don't freak out. If you practice CRV, we will come back to it. So it's wide, it's not super tall. Structure. More than one person. I'm getting person. Red. Red is huge. I'm going to take a red pencil and circle red. red is really important. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it's Santa Claus. Maybe the structure is red. I don't know. Maybe there's a fire there. I don't know yet. Okay. Crowded. There's something about it being uniform. Not uniforms like sports uniforms, although maybe kind of get a sporty sense. Uniform. It's like the same kind of people. So cold, but not too cold. Stacked. Not sure what that means yet. And I often use my hands to rub it instead of probing it. That's kind of where I've come. I just really rub things a lot. So you'll see me doing that a lot here. Outside. Okay, now I feel like I want to sketch now. So I'm going to take, I want something that's black or gray. So let me find, here, I'm going to use a gray marker. And I'm going to draw this structure. I don't know where the person or the people, it says crowded here. So there's people, there's more than one. So I'm going to draw I'm just letting my hand do this naturally. So I'm drawing some kind of weird, it's circular, but it's got something else. I don't know what this is. There's these little thingies in it. I don't know what those are. And then there's things coming out and up. I'm going to put out and up here. These things come out and up. I'm drawing this. There's lines everywhere. I don't know what this is. A cyclotron maybe? Or now I was getting kind of sporty. Maybe this is sports arena. Maybe it's Formula One. Maybe it's football games, Formula One, maybe it's circular. I don't know. I don't think it's that. That's my left brain trying to make conclusions, right? Trying to make conclusions. I'm going to write it down because we're going to deconstruct that. I'm putting Formula One because I'm thinking this. So it's good to get it out of my mind and write it on the paper. Now in CRV, SRV, TDRV, you would typically write this off to the side and call it an analytic overlay, an AOL. You might call it a deduction, whatever, but it's real data. So it's right here. I don't think it's Formula One. So we're going to come back to that because there's a reason that Formula One is popping into my head. And I'm pretty sure it's because this is something that's circular. And there's people here, and I'm going to draw the people in now. I'll take a pink pen for that. I'm going to do, there's people watching. And there's people everywhere here. This is like jam-packed. This to me feels like some kind of event. It could be a concert, right? Maybe it's a Taylor Swift concert or Beyonce at a stadium or something like that. There's just a lot going on here. It's crowded. It's really crowded. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. Oh, I got to fill them in over here. There's people here. I don't know what's happening here yet. I'm not getting a sense of that. So maybe nothing yet. Maybe it's people waiting for something. Maybe it's a Trump rally. I don't know. It's something going on and they're all watching it. So I'm going to draw a big eye here just with my rollerball pen because they're watching. I'm going to write that in big letters, watching. Okay, so somebody's watching something. I don't know what it is. Some kind of event. So let's write down event. It's good to write these things down, event. So now I'm going to do another ideogram because I need to find out more about what's happening here. I got something about what's happening in terms of the structure and where people that I was getting are placed. But what's interesting to me is that, and I'm pointing this out because you might see this in a session you do, the loop-de-loop is upside down. The loop-de-loop, I'm going to circle that so you can see it, is upside down. It's upside down. If it's upside down, to me, this is my personal interpretation of my own ideograms, and everyone watching this who is involved in remote viewing or transdimensional mapping, you need to figure out what your ideograms mean to you. And to me, upside down means unusual orientation. There's something weird about what's happening here. So, anyway, and these people are not like this. So maybe it's a soccer, football kind of situation where there's a goalie who's, flipping over to catch a ball. Maybe it's a concert where they have people doing aerial stunts. There's something going on here, but I haven't figured it out. So I'm going to do another ideogram. Okay, I'm going to do another one. I haven't started making the mapping connections yet. Right now, I'm just getting some basic data before we begin making connections. So here we go. I'm just going to clear my mind for a second. Give it a little bit of intent. Intent is important because if you want to get a new perspective, think internally, I want a new perspective. So here we go. Okay. I am getting 2 loop-de-loops. I'm circling them here. I wouldn't normally circle them, but I'm just showing you 2 loop-de-loops. And they're upside down. So there's something weird about the orientation. Now, in my ideograms, upside down does not necessarily mean upside down, but it might. It just means something unusual. So let's probe and find out. Okay, I'm going to use my hand. I like to use my hand to probe instead of the pen, but I know usually new students start with the pen and then they might move to the hand. I'm going to use my hand. Give me a second here to get in the zone. Okay. Stacked. There's that word again. Stacked. Tall. Unusual. Festive. Weird. Getting naked. I can't imagine these people are naked, but there we go. You get what you get. You get what you get. Squished together. Heavy. Waiting. They are cold. Well, if they're naked, they would be cold, right? Unless it's the heat of summer. I don't know what's going on here. Something's naked. Or there's something naked-ish about it. Foreign. Doesn't feel American. I'm going to write that down. Doesn't feel American. Okay, I'm just going to write down football. And by football, I mean soccer. I'm going to write that in parentheses. Football. Because it feels... Okay, now I'm going to start deconstructing a little bit because I can't help it. So I'm going to use another color. I'm going to use a nice dark color so you can see it. Nice dark blue. So football and soccer, I keep coming up with this idea, football and soccer. And I'm gonna ask myself, why? See, I wrote down why. Why do I think that it's football and soccer? And just in asking that, it allows you to deconstruct. So give me a second here. Why? Athletic. Coordinated. Can't spell. Coordinated. Elegant. Okay, that's unusual that that could relate to football, but no, I don't feel like it's football anymore. See, just doing that and asking why, you figure out why you thought it was football, and then you don't think about football the rest of the time. Otherwise, you'd be thinking about football the rest of the time, and you draw goalies in here and everything because your mind won't be able to get rid of it. But I asked myself why. Athletic, coordinated, elegant. That's why it reminded me of football, soccer kind of football, or American football. But I was thinking real football from my European friends and South American friends. So athletic, coordinated, elegant. Now let's go back to Formula One because I want to deconstruct that too. So Formula One, you say why? In a circle, athletic. See, again, I'm getting that it's a sport. So there's something that's a sport. So I'm going to write that big. I feel that very strongly. Both of the metaphors, conclusions, storylines I came up with, football, soccer, and Formula One, it's a sport. I have really no idea what this is. I don't know. So now I know it's a sport. It's not a concert. So what kind of sport is it? Baseball? I don't know. It doesn't feel like baseball. It feels a little different. So I'm going to go back to the people here, and I'm going to think about this for a minute. And I want to do a sketch of what's going on here. There's something stacked and tall. So I'm going to take a marker, and I'm going to use brown here. I don't have a sense of colors, and I'm just going to draw this over here and then figure out how it relates to this. So I have a person. His hands are up in the air. Okay, there's something around the waist. Shorts. He's got shorts on. He's got shorts on. The shorts are not brown, but I'm drawing them brown. But he's got shorts on. It's a man. Male is definitely male. I'm not going to tell you how I figured that one out. Okay, male. And there's another guy right next to him, and they're doing like the same pose. And he also has shorts on. Well, the shorts are longer than his genitals, so let's draw them longer so their genitals aren't flapping in the breeze. But they don't have shirts. Okay, so I'm drawing ditto marks here because there's more than one of these. They're in a row. Now, they're squished together. I wrote that. So they're really, draw a little arrow there. They're really close together. And let me get another color out here. I'm going to do this in a nice red and do a line here and say, there's something about this squished together. They're like crammed in, like sardines in a can, like sardines. So they're all really squished together, a bunch of them. They're squished together. They're foreign, not American, in other words. They're white. So they're Anglo, I say Anglos, it's kind of, they're white. They're Caucasian. They're squished together. What the heck is this? That makes no sense to me. Why would a bunch of guys wearing shorts be squished together? I know not. So now I'm going to figure out, how does this relate to this? Are these the guys in the outer perimeter of this? Maybe these guys are like, swilling beer all squished together and watching this. I don't know. So I'm going to make a connection between this and see what we can discover. So I'm just going to get a purple. Doesn't matter what color here. I'm going to connect this to this and see what comes up. So I'm going to just feel these for a minute. Oh, they're inside. They're inside. They're on display. Stacked. Okay. That word stacked keeps coming up. Oh, my glasses are falling off because of the muse. Hold on. Fix it. There we go. Okay, stacked. I'm not getting anything stacked yet. What is stacked? So now let's deconstruct the stacked. So take another color. I'll use green. We haven't used green here. Stacked. On top of each other. Oh, but they're side by side. They're side by side. They're side by side, but they're on top of each other too. That's confusing to me. So I'm going to do another ideogram, okay? With the intent to figure out a new aspect of this. Okay. Okay. So I drew 4 loop-de-loops, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And the upside down ideograms indicates that it's unusual orientation. Doesn't have to mean upside down, but it might be. I'm not getting the sense that anything is upside down. It's stacked. So these guys are in here. So, but there's something on top. There's something on top of them that's stacked, and it's more people. That's why their arms are up. They're holding something up. So let's do another sketch here. I'm using markers now to keep it nice and dark so that you guys can see. So I'm going to say in the middle here, you got, now we're going to stick figures because it just gets too complicated. And then, oops. They're holding him up. They're holding him up. That's what's happening. There's a bunch of them, and they're holding them up. Oh, maybe it's cheerleaders. So I'm going to write down cheerleaders because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. People on top of people in what's a sporting event, in some kind of a stadium-like structure. I'm going to say it's cheerleaders, right? Must be cheerleaders. Maybe it's the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders or something like that. So let's deconstruct cheerleaders because you don't like to make conclusions. You can't help but make conclusions. Everybody does. Everybody does in mapping and remote viewing. No matter which system you use, everybody makes conclusions. You cannot help it. If you don't deconstruct your conclusions, you are forever either losing data by ignoring it, or you are pushing your data into areas it should not go by hyper focusing on it. And I don't like to make conclusions. All I know for sure, and I can say this from the bottom of my heart and soul, there's people on top of people. I know that. They're stacked. It's festive. It's unusual. They're weirdly half naked. They're squished together. Feels like cheerleaders. So let's deconstruct this. So I'm going to take another color. I'm going to go with red because there's just something, the red is like really, and we'll get to the red too because it's so important. I got to figure out why. So cheerleaders, why? I'm writing down why. So when I look back, I can figure out why I came up with what I'm coming up with. And y'all, it's so hard to do this and talk your way through it. I've only done this a few times. It is tough. Okay, so give me a second here. Look at my brainwaves and make sure I'm getting into the right state. Give me a minute. I've done a lot of brainwave activity and biofeedback, so I can get to it in a second. Give me a second here. Okay, why do I feel it's cheerleaders? Clothing, acrobatics, stacked, kind of cheerleaders, but not for a sport, rather for show. So I just wrote Clothing, acrobatics, stacked, kind of cheerleaders, but not for a sport, for show. So now I'm thinking Cirque du Soleil or some kind of acrobatic techniques. I'm going to write Cirque du Soleil. I'm going to write that down. And I need to deconstruct this now because it's another conclusion. Is it Cirque du Soleil? Might be. Here's another color. Why? Acrobatics, a show, pageant. Pageant is important. Pageant's important. That like flashed out like crazy, and you missed it, but I had high theta, high gamma in that moment when I wrote down pageant. So this is a pageant. That's the first strong indicator I received on my brainwave mapping. And so I know that this is a pageant without a doubt. I have monitored my brainwaves for 10 years. I know this is a pageant. So this is a pageant. It's not Cirque du Soleil. It's a pageant. Pageant. I'm going to write it again. So it's a pageant. Now I want to revisit our stacked people. And I want to figure out why. Why is there a pageant? So you can ask yourself questions in the middle of this. I realize this is a little bit off the screen, but I wrote down, why is there a pageant? I'm just going to take my rollerball pen to write a bunch of stuff. Why is there a pageant? Sports, country. Origin is important. Red. Red is coming up again. Red. I want to know why. Why red? So I'm going to get my red marker and I'm going to say, why red? Why? This is like really the two most important. Well, there's several important things. There's a structure that's kind of circular-ish, has an entry or something, some open point. There are multiple people that are watching. There are people stacked on top of each other. And this is a pageant, but the color red is super significant. Country of origin. Oh, so this is something that has to do with the color red. China, Russia, it's something like that. It's foreign, right? So the country of origin is important. So now I want to I want to look at the country of origin. Country of origin. You know, my hands are getting all dirty from pressing into because I'm using a lot of markers here. Normally I use a lot of colored pencils or other stuff, but using markers to show. So I'm going to probe here. Country of origin. Cold. Cold War. It's Russia. There's no question. This is Russia. This is Russia. So we have people stacked on top of each other in the middle of some kind of structure. They're stacked together like sardines. There's more. Okay, so now I'm getting more than two levels high. So they're stacked on top, multiple stacks. Now I'm just doing a short session here so that I don't bore you to tears. But normally at this point, I would get out an entirely new page and start figuring out more about the orientation of these people and the importance of all this. So I'm going to just ask a couple of final questions here to wrap this up. And the first is, what do I need to know that I'm missing? What do I need to know? Blocked. Blocked. Barricade. People refusing to go to it. This is the most important thing I need to know. It's blocked. It's a barricade of some sort. People are refusing to go to it. Okay. So I'm going to conclude here. This is a speed session. Normally, what I spent less than half an hour. Normally, I spend 2 hours on a session and get tons of deep data. So let's take a look. What the heck did we look at? Let's photograph. Oh, wow. I don't even remember this one. Oh, wow. This is hard to see, so I'll show it up on there in a minute. But it's a bunch of people stacked on top of each other doing some kind of acrobatics, and they are wearing shorts. There's women at the top wearing, looks like bikinis, perhaps. And it says up here, Soviet dancers and gymnasts for the opening ceremonies of the 1980 Moscow Summer Olympic Games, Moscow, July 17th, 1980. It's a rehearsal. You can see people in the audience. So that's really interesting. So that, I got little chills here, as I always do afterwards. I always feel a little shaky. So those were the Soviet games, I think, when, I have to look this up because I don't remember, but that was during the Cold War. So people refusing to go to it. Maybe that was the Olympic Games that were, that the United States didn't go to in other countries. I can't remember, but so I'll have to look it up. But anyway, here we go. Ta-da! That's how you do mapping. You draw connections between things. Normally, I would do 10 million more connections, but I kept this short. I would normally do several maps to look at each of these elements in depth. But you can see how every time I had a conclusion, I tried to figure out why. Why did I think that it was football or soccer? Why? Because it was athletic, coordinated, and elegant. Why did I think it was Formula One? There was some kind of circle. That's the people in a circle. It was athletic. It was a sport. So even though in a session you get multiple conclusions, we all do. This is part of the process. It's because I don't remember this. I've never seen this in real life, and I don't even remember putting it in an envelope. It was a long time ago. But this is something I don't have a familiarity with. So my subconscious mind is trying to scream at me. It's like Formula One. It's like a football game. It's like soccer. It's like this, like cheerleaders. And so in a mapping session, you deconstruct as you go, and it allows you to build up the narrative. So at the end here, we knew some things. We knew there was some kind of a stadium event. We knew there were people watching it. We knew there were people wearing shorts stacked on top of each other. We knew it was in Russia. We knew it was during the Cold War. We knew there was some kind of blockage or barricade or people refusing to go to it. We knew it was athletic and coordinated and elegant. So by deconstructing, you're able to put together a cohesive narrative. Thank you for watching.